Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 10, Terra Firma Part 2. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review Star Trek Discovery, so I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Discovery up to Season 3, Episode 10. If you haven't seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, I like this. I like this episode. I think the two-part overall was pretty good. This was a satisfying conclusion to the second part, where it picks up right where they left off with Georgiou in the Mirror Universe, and it's kind of like what I said in the previous my previous review, that no matter what Georgiou does, she's going to have to kill Burnham eventually, and I actually really like that. I think that's an interesting dynamic. I like the way it played out. I like how, Burnham was acting like she turned around to Georgiou's side. She even went as far as to kill all of Lorca's co-conspirators. It does make me wonder, though, if she was just pretending, maybe she shouldn't have killed Lorca's actual co-conspirators. As we know that one security chief, Landry, definitely was one of Lorca's conspirators, and so was Detmer, but whatever. Maybe they didn't want Georgiou. She thought Georgiou might be able to find out or notice if she wasn't actually killing Lorca's co-conspirators. So but the whole time when Burnham was acting like, she was by Georgiou's side, and it was like, acting like, I'm, all on board with you and let's go hurt these people. I'm like, it must just be an act, is what I'm thinking, because it's just hard for me to buy that she would go from being so gung-ho to wanting to kill Georgiou to all of a sudden, being, oh yeah, Team Georgiou, let's, kill anyone who gets in her way. The turn just seemed, I don't know, just unrealistic, and I think Georgiou was a bit naive to think that she did completely turn Burnham. I know they tried the agony booth or whatever, but, torture is not really an effective means for doing stuff like that. So that was interesting, and, later Carl would even say that, that Georgiou did all that she could do. Georgiou was like, but I failed. And he's like, well, no, it's like, at least you tried, and you did all that you could do, which was clear. And it's also very clear, and it's part of the reason why I really like this episode, is that it does show how much Georgiou's time in the Prime timeline has changed her. And that's something a lot of people complained about in Season 1 of Discovery, that Lorca's time in the Prime timeline didn't seem to change him at all, and it seems like he was in there for quite some time. Which is why I found it a bit funny how everyone was talking about where Georgiou was like, where's Lorca? We gotta find Lorca, and everyone's like, I don't know where he is. But Georgiou knows full well where Lorca is. He's in the Prime timeline. But anyway, I did like how, yeah, we really did see that Georgiou's, and I think the episode did a good job of explaining exactly how it changed her and why that she could see that there was a better way of doing things. I mean, she was still brutal. She still had no compunction of torturing and killing people, but she saw that the way the Terran Empire was doing it was just too much, and she did have a softer side. She did really learn to appreciate Burnham, as a daughter, and realize how regretful she is that she lost that relationship, and the way she gets Saru on as an ally by treating him like an actual person, not just food, and tell him to go to the Vaharai, and Saru and some other Kelpians actually help save her life because of it. So, and she kind of learned that being that the Terran Empire was not the right way. She was no longer fully on board with it, and they kind of imply that she partially was kind of drifting away from it from the beginning, which again does make sense. It kind of explains why Lorca and Burnham would want to mutiny in the first place. And that's cool, because the time she spends in the Discovery area, she's just like, oh, you guys suck, I want to go back to being a Terran, blah, blah, blah. But that's all just an act. It's all just a front. And here she was forced to confront her inner demons. I thought this was a great character story, which is unprecedented, because I was been very unhappy with the way they've been handling Giorgio since season 2, really. I just thought she just comes off as kind of whiny and kind of in the way, and never really fit in, honestly. So I think this is a really good resolution to her storyline. How when she does get back and they meet Carl, and Carl tells them that she's like, oh, that didn't save me. What was the point of it? And Carl's like, well, it's a test. I got to test you to make sure you have changed and to see where you belong. And you do not belong in Terra Firma. In fact, she was like, I don't want to go back there. I just proved that that's not a good place for me. He's like, no, well, I'm not going to send you back. I'll send you back to a time where the Prime timeline and the Prime universe and the Mirror universe are closer together, so you won't fall apart and phase away. So basically, she's going back to where Discovery left so they can do the Section 31 show. That's basically it. I mean, this is something I was wondering since season 3 started, or because they're still saying they're going forward with the Section 31 show starring Giorgio. I'm like, well, how is she going to be in the Section 31 show if she's in the 32nd century? But so I knew they were going to come up with something, and I was just waiting for it. But I think I figured this out as soon as they started the storyline about her phasing out, that they would find some way to get her back to the 23rd century. But that, whatever, that's fine. I'm happy with all that. Now, as for the reveal of who Carl actually is, that he's the Guardian of Forever, this was a theory that was thrown around, and I when I heard that theory, I was like, yeah, that could be the case. I think it still would make more sense if it was a Q, but Guardian of Forever works as well. Although this is kind of inconsistent because his powers are the way he's behaving, the way they're able to magically just transport himself and project himself as a human being reading it, and change the gateway into a door, and then all of a sudden have the Guardian Forever there, and that's not really how it's been established to be. It's just a portal on a planet. It didn't have like magical powers to read people's thoughts and transport itself. That's more of a Q. But whatever. I mean, the Guardian Forever has not been established that firmly in lore. So if they want to retcon a few things to make it more like Q, that's fine. I don't really have a huge issue with that. But I will say, when they did the huge reveal and they showed the Guardian and they played the audio from City on the Edge of Forever, the Guardian Forever saying, I am the Guardian of Forever, like in that cheesy 60s thing, that did not work for me. To me, first of all, it was cheesy and out of place. Secondly, it struck me as pure fan service, because in universe, like Burnham and Giorgio, they have no idea what the fuck the Guardian Forever is. Mind you, they came from a time that was 10 years before Kirk encountered it. So they don't know what the fuck it is, and they never heard it talk like that. So that having it speak like that, like this huge reveal, was just for the fans. just for the viewership, and that bothers me because there's no in-universe reason. It reminds me of the Star Trek Into Darkness when Benedict Cumberbatch does the big reveal, "My name is Khan," and that name means nothing to Kirk and Spock. So they're like, okay, all right, that's your name. Why'd you say it like that? Like, it's purely for the audience, and I felt it was pretty much the same thing here, which so that was dumb. Like they just went a little bit over the top. I mean, I love the Guardian Forever, but I don't know. They have like drastically changed it. But whatever. I did like the mention about how it said it had to hide itself during the temporal wars because everyone wanted to use it to for the war, and that makes perfect sense. That actually makes a lot of sense because by that time, of course, it's been established that this exists, and of course some people would find out about it and some people would want to use it in this war, and so it had to hide itself. Now, I remember before when they mentioned where this planet is in part 1, they said it was like in the far reaches of the Alpha Quadrant near the Gamma Quadrant, so that speaks to me that is well outside of at least 24th century where people can travel to. That's like well outside, and especially in the 32nd century where they don't have dilithium crystals or warp drive, it would be way beyond what anyone could get to. So Discovery is only able to do it because it has the spore drive. But other conventional engines, even in the 24th century, they wouldn't be able to get to it. Maybe, 29th or 30th century when the Temporal Wars took place, maybe they had spread out, the Federation and all that has spread out that far, I'm not sure. But definitely not in the 32nd. Like, it seems like that area that the Federation and all those species inhabit has really shrunk because of the dilithium crisis. But anyway, so yeah, like all of Discovery, like Discovery always does, it did go a bit too sentimental. Like I think you did earn some sentimental value, particularly Giorgio and Burnham, because I think the episode earned it, because the episode this made like Giorgio's time in the Mirror Universe made her appreciate Prime Burnham a lot more, and I actually think that really worked and that made a lot of sense, and also reflectively shows why Prime Burnham appreciates Giorgio, because she does see parts of her Giorgio in her, but she even said in this episode that she likes Mirror Giorgio for her, not just because she reminds her of the Prime Giorgio. So I think that worked really well. I really liked it. So some sentimentality was earned, but that funeral scene, like, you should have a funeral scene for sure, but they went too long with it, over the top, and was like, okay, this Discovery just gets way too caught up in sentimentality sometimes. But anyway, I didn't like how Burnham wanted to go with Giorgio. I'm like, really? Because again, Discovery has been shown to have all this sentimentality and about how Burnham loves everyone, loves Saru and Tilly, and she's just willing to just walk out of them and leave them all, and leave all of her quest to find what happened to the burn and all that, just leave it all behind to go with Emperor Giorgio. I don't buy that. Also, Carl says that Burnham is right where she belongs, which is weird because she's actually 900 years past her time, but apparently they're meant to be there. Which I'm sure that's just setting up that Discovery. It's the show writers trying to contrive a way to say that Discovery is meant to be in the 32nd century and that they're going to have a big impact there. But whatever, that's fine. But So when they go off the ship and Burnham tells Saru that Giorgio is gone, and he asks for clarification, and annoyingly Burnham doesn't clarify. Which, why don't you just fucking tell him she stepped through a portal and probably went back to the 23rd century, but whatever. And so Saru was like, oh, she's deceased. And Burnham didn't answer. He's like, well, is she coming back? And Burnham's like, no, she's never coming back. And Saru says, well, she's deceased then. Excuse me, Saru, that's not how it fucking works. In fact, I think that's a very, very selfish perspective. Well, I'm never going to see this person ever and ever again, so therefore they must be dead. They might as well be dead, because who cares that they actually are still alive and they're going to live the rest of their life just because I will never see them again. That must mean they're dead. I think that's a very selfish perspective. Just me, personally, and I didn't like how they weren't very clear on whether or not they told the rest of the crew during that stupid memorial service whether or not what actually happened to Giorgio, but whatevs on that. I guess we'll find out when the Section 31 show premieres, which I'm still not looking forward to. Like, Section 31 portrayal in season 2 of Discovery was by far the worst thing of that season. And even though I do like these episodes, the way they played Giorgio, and they definitely strengthened her character and explored her character more, I'm still not totally sold on her either. Not enough to want to see her have her own show. But that is just me. Anyway, my rating for Terra Firma Part 2 out of 10 is an 8. Extremely good. I don't think this episode wasn't that great as to deserve a 9 or a 10, because I still had some issues with it. It was a bit slow in some places, and the over sentimentality towards the end, and the cheesiness of the I am the Guardian forever, and a few things. But it was definitely a strong episode. I do think it did a great job of exploring the character of Giorgio and how her time in the Prime timeline affected her, which is something they didn't do with Lorca, and how it made her appreciate Prime Burnham more and stuff like that. All of that, I think, worked really, really strongly. Plus, I think it was kind of cool seeing the Mirror Universe again. So, that's just me. Anyway, that is it for my review of Terra Firma Part 2. I shall be back next week and every week to continue to cover Star Trek Discovery Season 3. You can also check out my channel as I cover many other shows like The Expanse, all kinds of Star Trek, Breaking Bad, The Outer Limits, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.